So, today I want to talk about guilt and how it hides under other emotions and it will sneak its way into circumstances to ruin your life. Okay? So, this year in 2025, I guess I'm gonna talk about my money situation first and how guilt kind of came into play in a way that I think subconsciously I was allowing it to affect my decisions, okay? So throughout my life, my money situation has been a little up and down, up and down. I left home very young, didn't have anything as a young person, got more stable, would drop off a little bit, get more stable again. And in 2025, I had enough money to start a business, okay? But it's like I had all these friends and people in my life that it was like I had made these relationships in a means of struggle. Like we would get together and we would talk about all the ways our lives were like, oh, like going bad and struggles, this and that. And me being a problem solver and like somebody that likes to serve, I always felt like it was my place to kind of like help everybody out with like whatever I could do for them or with whatever information I could provide for them, like coaching wise, like mindset shifts and stuff like that. So I had a friend that had been talking about going into business with me. We had been discussing this for like a year. And then I had enough money that I was like, okay, I think I can get into business, but I'm not sure I have enough to get to that point of sustainability because I know it takes like a year. So I contacted this friend that we had been talking about doing business together, and he's like, yeah, let's go for it, right? But he was long distance, but we had been friends for a long time, like over a decade. So I thought, cool, all systems go. So I get the business up and going, and it was like I had friends around me struggling, and we had been friends while I was married, unhappy in my marriage. They're also unhappy in their marriages. And then I got out of my marriage and was considerably happier. I did have some struggles with like my boyfriend at the time, but then he and I like broke up and I got into business and all that stuff. So like my life was getting, in my opinion, considerably better. And I did not realize at the time that I think I had this lingering feeling of guilt that my life was getting better than my friends' lives, and that it was like my responsibility to help make their lives better too. Okay? So I had this big old plan to use my money to make a business to create sustainable income because I had come from being a stay-at-home mom and was like, all right, well, I want to be smart. I want to do something profitable. Got my friend on board as a investor, and then hired my other friends so I could pay them for their work, right? Well, then my investor friend backed out. Then when I didn't have the money to pay my other friends, they all left me pretty much, and so yeah, and then I only had enough money in my own, without the investors' help. I did everything I could to just figure out what I could for as long as I could. I only had enough money to keep the business open for like 6 months. And it was growing, just not fast enough to that place of like sustainability. So I had to close the doors, right? So in 2025, my life just absolutely crumbled. So in 2023, end of 2023, I separated from my husband. Then in 2025, I started business. I lost my business, lost all my money, lost 99% of my friends and relationships in that year for different reasons, but that's how it panned out. And my whole life pretty much crumbled in this past year. And, oh no, I think my husband and I separated in 2024. I can't remember. Either way, it's been a crazy couple of years, And so I feel like I had this money that I could have been comfortable with, and I could have just been like taking it slower, taking it easier, being more mindful, not having to take the risk of even trusting somebody that said they would invest with me. And I felt this push to go create something that I could invite other people in on. And like I had to do it, and I feel like it was guilt. Okay, like my life got so good, and then guilt was like, no girl, your life's not supposed to be that good, like go struggle some more. So I did. you know and so I just realized that recently, like evaluating why we do the things we do, looking at like this feelings chart on the frequency level, right? Like guilt is way down here as opposed to like happiness, love, bliss, all that kind of stuff. And I think, had a lot of guilt in my life that has kept me at a certain level of operation as to like the relationships I allow in my life, even romantically. Like, I think I used to feel like I was a bad person because I was in addiction for a lot of my life. And I think like for a good portion of my young life, I've been sober for a long time now. But I think I felt like I was a bad person and that I deserved bad treatment. And I think that comes from a place of guilt. And now I realize I'm not a bad person and I actually deserve very good treatment. And I deserve to have an easy life and I deserve to have easy money. And just because I have money does not mean that I owe anybody anything. Does not mean that I have to make else's life better just because my life is going well. Like, I finally realized all of that, okay? And this one is even deeper, this one that I'm about to bring up right now. So guilt, I feel like, hides underneath grief a lot. And this one's like really heavy. So if you have lost a loved one, a child, a family member, a friend, a parent, sometimes it can feel like we did something wrong whenever there was nothing we could do to change the circumstance. And I realized this also this year in 2025. Like, this year has been such a transformative year for me. I went so deep into my soul this year. It was crazy, just life-changing, the discoveries you can make just within yourself. So I had been struggling on and off with grief. So grief is to just miss something that you once had. You can grieve a pet, you can grieve a relationship, you can grieve a person that has passed or just no longer in your life. So grieving is just missing something that you once had, okay? So the first time I was pregnant, I lost that baby to a tubal pregnancy. And I struggled with grief for a long time over that. For the first couple years especially was really hard. And then I feel like healed from it mostly, but grief still just comes up like randomly sometimes, in life. And this year, 2025, I got really into meditating and I kept coming up with grief in my meditations. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, it's just hitting me so hard, And then one day I had a breakthrough and I realized that under my grief for this baby that I had lost is all this guilt that I had, that I could have done something differently in my pregnancy, or I could have done something differently during the time of surgery. I ended up having to have like emergency surgery where they removed my fallopian tube because it was a tubal pregnancy. And I realized that I regretted certain questions that I never asked. Like, was the baby still alive? Like, could I see it? Could I touch it? And I felt guilty because now I have a baby that's in heaven that never got to be touched by its mother. And I felt guilty about that. So it's like, but I just did the best I could at the time with what I was trying to process. And like, I can't beat myself up about that forever, you know what I mean? So now it's like, I know I love that baby, I'm grateful that that baby was in my life, and I know that someday I'll, like, be able to, like, touch that baby, hold that baby. It's probably just a little tiny baby. I was only a couple months pregnant, so it's probably just like a little bean, you know? But still, I wish I could have, like, been like, I love you, baby, just, like, touched it, you know? But that's okay, because sometimes that's how it happens. And I know other parents that have lost children for various reasons. And I know, you know, one of my friends lost her dad recently. And it's like, you have to realize that you didn't do anything wrong, and that we are only a small part of someone else's story, and they are living their own story as well. And this is something I'll talk about in another video too. But, like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that bad things happen sometimes, and it's not your fault that we lose people we love sometimes. And I just wanted to point that out, that if it feels like grief is coming up a lot in your field, that yeah, you might be grieving, but you might also just be experiencing the feeling of guilt and not recognizing it. But once you do recognize if you are experiencing that, like, you have nothing to feel bad about. I even know somebody that lost his brother to, like, suicide, and I know that that, like, tortures him, you know? But you don't have anything to feel bad about, and we can't change certain things. And also, you don't have to feel bad for, like, living a good life. It's like, some people think after such a terrible experience, once again, going back to my life can only be so good. And then they're like, that guilt pulls them back down. Oh, my life isn't supposed to be that good. How could my life be that good when this terrible thing over here happened, you know, to someone else, and that hurts me because I care about them and stuff like that. But you are allowed to live a good life, and you are allowed to live a good life and miss that person simultaneously. And just because you live a good life doesn't mean you miss that person any less. It doesn't mean you love that person any less. Like, they want you to live a good life. Like, at the end of the day, we are all here to experience love and connection and joy and the deepest satisfaction and, like, enjoyment of life possible, okay? So, like, live a good life and don't feel bad about it, and be grateful for the experiences that we have. And, like, even though it's hard, like, find the resources you need to turn your pain into something powerful, so that you can help other people either transform their pain or process, you know, loss. I know one guy that lost his child to suicide, which is terrible. Like, I can't imagine. I actually know a few people that have experienced that, but one guy in particular that I was talking to about it, he said that now he speaks with, like, young people that are having difficulties, not in any major platforms or anything like that, but, like, if his friends reach out to him and they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so is, like, struggling with this thing and that thing right now, and I'm kind of worried about them, he will go talk to those young people, and now they are, like, doing better. And it's terrible that he had to go through what he had to go through, losing a child like that, but now he's able to help other children. So just wanted to talk about that today. But I know life is hard sometimes, and I know that grief is hard, and the guilt underneath the grief can be hard. but you deserve to live a good life. And you can take what you've learned to help other people in their lives. Not that that's your responsibility, but it could be something that makes you feel better, like you're serving the world, because that can help you feel better too. Okay? Whew. So, if anybody wants to talk about anything, you guys know I'm here for you. And there's no subject that is off limits. If you need someone to talk to, I'm definitely here for it. And we can definitely find the light and the direction and transform those things, those hurtful things that can all be transformed into something good. That doesn't mean that bad emotions won't ever come up. Of course they will sometimes, but now when I miss my baby, when I grieve my baby now, I just send them love and light. I don't even know if it was a girl or a boy, but I just send them love and light, and I'm just like, I love you, baby, So that's all. And I hope everybody has a good day. And I love you guys so much.